Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our V.I.P featured guest is the owner and general manager of Movement Fitness in Rockford, Illinois, an elite personal training and sports performance facility. She and her husband work side by side serving their clients ranging from 10 to 84 years old. As part of their desire to not just make a movement within the walls of their gym, but also a movement within their community, they are very dedicated and hands-on in their community, in nonprofits, and serving in those roles. She has worked for Walt Disney World in marketing and served again in many local nonprofits to include leadership roles, which she can tell us more about in a moment. Currently, she is serving as a programs chair of Rockford Network and the Transform Rockford Steering Committee. She has been blessed by parents that have always instilled the values faith, family, and farm from the very beginning. She and her husband, Justin, have called Rockford home for 17 years. Originally a farm girl from central Illinois, they are proud to raise their 3 boys in the Rockford community. Silhouettes, let's welcome Theresa Kegley to the show. Hello, Theresa.
Hello, Amber. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to connect with you as you share your Silhouette of Success story with us.
Well, thank you.
Well, let's dive in. So I always enjoy kicking it off to help the audience understand the shapings of your Silhouette of Success by having you share a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I guess it's easy to say my chapter 1 started a little different than most. I was actually born at Mayo Clinic Cancer Research Center in Rochester, Minnesota. My biological father, my dad, Dan Hayes, at the age of 24, was a patient there. And when I was just 2 days old, my dad actually passed away from leukemia. And so I then had a widowed single mother, and now in my adult years and being a mother myself, thinking of the strength and turmoil that she had to have gone through in those early years. She was 23. It's almost like crippling to think through sometimes, but I wouldn't have known that. That's not the mom that I've known. And so my chapter 2, I always say, brings a little more sunshine. And when I was just 2, my mom remarried to my dad, my adoptive father, Mark. And I've just been tremendously blessed. Not only did Mark come in my life and become my dad, and I've known no different, but he raised me with the legacy, and legacy is a big word. I'll probably say it a lot just because it's legacy has been a part of my life for as long as I've known, probably being from a farming family and things like that too. But my dad raised the legacy of both our nuclear family and my biological side of the family to be one. And I've never known anything different than that. So my parents, I have 2 siblings, a younger sister, Leanne, and a brother, Caleb, all both very successful in their paths. And my parents just really raised us with exactly what you said in my intro, faith, family, and farm. Now in my industry, we like to throw fitness in there as an additional F. But just raised us to show growth. Not always the mindset of you can do everything you want to do, because although I believe that's true, it was you have to put in the work and you have to align yourself to be able to do that. And you have to bring God along that path and not charge it on your own. So grew up in, like you said, Central Illinois. Was a high school athlete. Went away to college. One of my core moments in life actually was the day I graduated from college. I remember I went to the University of Northern Iowa and I was sprinting up the steps of the dome where my ceremony was. And my dad was standing at the top of the stairs. And I remember giving him a great big hug and being so excited. And he wept, like he just cried. And it was the first time I actually remember ever seeing my dad cry. And at first I was caught off guard, and without words even being exchanged in the moment, I started to feel all of his emotions. You know, he never went to college, and I was the oldest. It was a big passion for him to see us go and use our gifts to grow. And um, just days after graduation, I packed up my Hyundai Elantra to the brim, everything I could fit in it, and drove to Orlando, Florida, and started my first job at Walt Disney World Parks and Resorts. I was the communication coordinator of the Magic Kingdom, and literally living a fantasy life. Like, it was a dream. I walked into the Magic Kingdom every day for work. Um, Now, the tasks and the daily activity weren't always magical, but the job really was. It allowed me to. The cornfield girl was exposed to different environments and circumstances and people, and I loved it. I loved it. Proceeded at Walt Disney World for several years into different leadership roles, and then went into marketing, and um, and then life kind of threw me a curveball. I use a lot of baseball analogies because I'm a baseball mom now. So, but threw me a curveball, and I had been dating my boyfriend Justin for years. We started dating when I was in high school. Had some on and off relationships as college years would have it, and some distance. And we had started dating again. Actually, this is like 2004 and 2005, so you can kind of keep that secret because there's no social media. And so we would fly back and forth to each other's cities to see each other, and had decided, you know what, we're going to get married. We're going to tell everybody. And that Christmas, not only did we have to come home and tell everybody we were getting married, we came home to tell everybody we were expecting our first child. And that curveball really threw me because I knew quickly that based on the support we needed and where we needed to be, I was going to be leaving my magical, Disney job and be moving with him for his position. And so that's what brought us to Rockford. And if I'm honest, I'd never been to Rockford. It's 2.5 hours north of my hometown, but I'd never really been here. Rockford isn't known to show up on the Forbes top destination lists often. And so um, that's something that we, you know, often are like, why here? How did we get brought here? And so, but through that, we've been here for 17 years now. We've grown and done immense things. And for Justin, fitness has always been a part of his background. I always joke I'm in the people business, right? Like, I, in high school years, worked in retail, then obviously working for one of the largest entertainment companies in the world. Um, and then when we moved here, I took a couple marketing positions, but then I transitioned to the non-for-profit sector because people and impact has just always been the cadence of who I am. I want to be able to make an impact and have a positive influence. And going back to those days of running up the steps of the dome and seeing my dad cry, I remember at that moment feeling that pressing, and if you will, I always say those are God whispers. It's just saying, like, you have a gift, and your gift is to serve and influence others. And so um, from that moment, I just, in every position, although it's not always linear, it's always been under that cadence of going, can I serve others in this position? Can I influence people to into a positive influence? And so in 2015, we cashed it all in. We turned in our company cars and our insurance plans and our vacation days, and we had three little guys, and we opened the doors of our brick and mortar facility, Movement Fitness, under the precedence that we definitely want people to move well and live a healthy lifestyle. But we also knew that Rockford as a community needed some help, and in order to do that, we knew people, not just us, needed to be their best selves, and we knew fitness could be a vehicle or a tool for them to be that. So 7 years later, Movement Fitness is a thriving facility that does do exactly that. It creates individuals from, siblings to grandparents in the same facility working out together to create an impact in a community that needs a light and needs the influence of others. So
Okay, so it's crazy. I'm sitting here, I just hear the high energy in your voice. This is
Mm.
fantastic.
Well, thank you. It is.
Wow.
It's a gift, and I have to remember that sometimes when
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
because sometimes with that gift comes responsibility that, like anybody, I can become stagnant in my day to day, and I have to remember that there's been an influence and a charge that I've been given to give others, and if that's here in Rockford or if that's over a Zoom or a podcast or however that is, I need to continue to serve because that's when I'm at my best, and that's when I know I'm serving God.
It's interesting as you were sharing your story, I had written, she's all in. You're talking about Rockford, and I'm like, my hands are going up and cheering. I mean, you're just all in. And then later on, you just mentioned in 2015 that you all cashed it all in, and you went for it. So fantastic. I mean, you are walking the walk. I can hear it in you. All these things are so amazing. What a great story. um, the alarm clock goes off, and hearing about what you're doing now, and you've got the kids and you've got the business and mom, wife, all those things. What does a day in the life look like for you? Do you enjoy more structured with routine, or are you more spontaneous? What does that look like for you? Because we always love best practices when we hear and see what's going on in somebody else's world.
I love it. Well, I'm sure that you probably get a giggle from most entrepreneurs on like, what does most days look like? Because I would love to sometimes have this like perfect paved day. But in my best self, I am structured. I do like a structure. My family kind of thrives in that anyway. When I even think about my kids, and I don't always know it because it's all we've been, but it's when other individuals are in our lives that they're like, when my son Riley, who's now 16, was little, um, our babysitter at the time would always laugh because he'd wake up and say, "Okay, what's the plan today?" Because I would always start that way. "Okay, here's the plan today," and like run through our life. Um, I often get asked like, "How do you do it all?" And I think it is because I keep a pretty, I mean, as silly as it is, a pretty color coordinated Google Calendar, but also we keep rhythms, and it's not always perfect. It's funny because working with your spouse, I always say we fill in each other's blank ends, right? So my husband's discipline in his morning routine is flawless. Like he gets up at the same time, he does the same routines, and I'm good at that. I'm not great at that. But on our day to day and where we have to be and what has to be where, that's where I like own it. And so we can kind of step in and cover each other a little bit here and there when one of us, is not quite on. But for me, my day to day is, I mean, first and foremost in the morning is the priority is my family. Um, they're little influencers in themselves, right? They're creating impact in different ways, and their skill sets are different. And so, trying to make sure that we're sending them off the best in the morning. Um, my like everybody, I have to program in my personal care, and so it doesn't just come easy. It's always the joke. Well, you own a gym, can't you just walk down and work out whenever you want? And I'm in my office a lot because I'm running the operations, and so I have to schedule it just like everybody. So, and then from there, you'll find me almost every evening at a basketball, baseball, or a theater. So that's we're in that season. Our boys are 16, 11, and 12. So we are in activities every evening, and it's like my happy place. I love it. I love that they're getting to live out what they love to do. My middle son is in theater, which is different from our sports family, and he's in the arts and he plays multiple instruments, and it's just so cool to watch him thrive in his element. And then obviously we're big proponents of sports and teams because it teaches our kids resilience. It teaches them how to fail in a position that they need to learn how to do that. And yeah, it allows us to, that's how we grew. And I always joke, my husband and I own a business not because of our GPAs, although my GPA was okay, mom, but but more because of the extracurriculars and the other things that we did while balancing school and other commitments. So
It's a full life. It's a vibrant life. I can tell.
it is.
You shared about early on, and you're growing up and the influence of your parents. Who could you also tie back, or maybe it is your parents that most influenced you as you embarked on your career path?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so if I had to narrow it down to one person, I would say my dad. Because I watched, and I didn't know it then, but I watched an entrepreneur make himself not just a farmer, and not that that's not enough, but have other businesses and drive others to succeed as well. Um, Throughout my working career, obviously had wonderful mentors in working for Walt Disney World and local non-for-profits and coaches even now that we work with. But when I circle back to like the core of who I am, it always falls on my dad. He just has always instilled, even when our mind gets away from us or we self-sabotage ourselves, he grounds me and just reminds me what our purpose is and to stay in a lane that I can continue to pave a way for others.
What do you wish someone, we always say, I wish I would have known that, or why didn't somebody tell me that? What do you wish someone would have told you as you went out on your own, and whether it be at Walt Disney or as an entrepreneur starting, movement fitness? What do you wish someone would have told you?
Oh, that's good. I would say ask for help. As a Enneagram 3, disc high D, type A, I feel like I can just everything's figure outable, right? I love that book, and that's so true. But asking for help and investing in coaching is just priceless. And I think in some scenarios, you play the mind game of I can't afford to have somebody help me with this. And when I get to this point, I'll get help. And then it takes you so much longer to get to that point. Does that, and so
Right.
I just finding somebody that aligns with you and where you want to go. And one thing I had to replace in my mindset is it doesn't my coach or my person or whoever that is does not have to be somebody I'd want to switch places with. I was given that advice young, and I don't think that that's completely wrong, but I was having a hard time finding that person that I'd want to switch with. And so I just was figuring it out on my own still. And more so just going, who's that person that can take you to that? Because if it's a great coach or if it's a great person that's willing to lean into you, they're leaning into your gifts, not just what they can do. And we've been very fortunate to really do that well in the past couple of years. But I wish as an entrepreneur, we would have done that sooner.
Great advice. And that one, almost you have to stop and think on,
Oh,
because
yeah.
how would you know when we're hustling and we're in those moments and we're just go go go. That is so intriguing to me. I don't know that I would have ever been able to pull that out. I think sometimes you just get stuck. So that's intriguing in itself, what you just said.
I think, well, it's
Wow.
funny because I'm 42 and I'm like, I have more coaches in my life now than I ever have. And I was an
Yeah.
athlete and everything,
Right.
but I have a coach for our business that challenges us, and we're a husband and wife duo. So that's not for the faint of heart. And so you have to have the right coach that's willing to help you along that. So our coach Tim is great about that. I have a health coach because coaches need coaches. And I was getting myself into a point where I'm like, I know the things, I need some accountability. And I'm at that age where hormones are different. I need somebody helping me with that next level. So it's funny. I joke. I'm like, we have more coaches now than I've ever had in my life.
Oh my goodness. As an independent business owner, you've talked about how you and your husband are great teammates and all those things, and you've got your coaches. Where do you turn to for support?
That's good. So it's funny because the support that I get tends to be the same lanes that I'm pouring into. So I've long been part of the Rockford Network of Professional Women and other women's groups, and not even women's groups, just other uh, chamber, just different community involvement pieces. And what tends to happen is when you're pouring into, or for me, in my circumstance anyway, when I'm pouring into others, whether that it's a skill that I have that I'm helping with or whatever that looks like, usually that's what fills my cup. And so um, for us, our church-based groups and things that we've done, when I walk away, I'm at my best because I know that I've given, but when I've given, I'm also receiving. That's whether, maybe high extrovert, shocking. I'm sure you can tell that just by, but that pour out is that same, is a still receiving piece for me. So
Mm, that's beautiful. More magic, more magic. So, if you get stuck or you find a barrier between you and a goal or dream, what helps you get over or past or plow through? What best practices work for you?
So I'm sure this won't shock you, but I don't sit still and do quiet really well. And so I've learned that that's usually what it is because I don't ever, you know, the support is there. I have a husband that is encouraging and supporting and always driving and thinks more of me than I ever will see in myself. Um, so what tends to happen is I will drown out a lot of that with just more busy, because I can do busy well. I can run a pace pretty well. But it's sitting in that quiet. And it's interesting you say that, because I'm finding that season right now. It's creeping up on me, and I can feel it, where there's something, and something doesn't always mean new or different or change. It could mean right where I'm at, but just in a different level. And I can feel that push of like, you need to sit and be for a minute to hear that. And and for me, obviously, my faith is the cadence of who I am. And so in that quiet, I know I'm not alone, but it's also getting to that point where I can silence others. And whether that is promptings for God or just letting myself understand where I'm at.
Talk to us about your company, Movement Fitness, the inspiration that led you all to launch it. And you've got some amazing, notable milestones and some great nonprofit work that you're doing and that you've been involved with. So, talk to us about everything goodness that you want to share.
Oh, sure. So, um, yeah, Movement Fitness was created under the principle that we wanted people to move well, but make a movement in our community. And so we're so blessed by an amazing team. I have some of the best staff, personal trainers, and directors in our facility, um, that truly just they care about our clients and our community, and they're willing to do what they have to do. Obviously, their main goal and their main mission is getting them to move well, especially, and we've seen that with the pandemic, keeping our aging individuals. I probably have to consider myself in that number at this point, but living as independently as we can. And so that has been a vehicle that we do not take for granted. We're super fortunate to be able to use as a tool in a vehicle. For me and how I'm wired, it allows me then to create an impact in our community. And every non-for-profit or steering committee position that I take, I always have to use the gauge or the radar for myself. Like, what difference is this making? I don't, not that I don't want to be a part of social clubs. I love social clubs, but what am I doing? What am I able to use? What skill set or tool am I able to use? So like Transform Rockford it's actually ironic that I said the Forbes thing, because the main mission of Transform Rockford is to get on a Forbes list. It's a positive one, frankly. And and what does that look like? Is that, and sometimes we can get bogged down with, there's a lot in a big community. I mean, although Rockford, I always called it's a small town, it's still a big metropolitan area. So we're fighting against all of the things with healthcare and safety and education. And I'm just one little person that owns a gym. Like, I can get that, I can self-sabotage myself that way. Like, how is this person that just owns a gym going to be able to make an impact? And it's knowing that it's not just about me. It's about a team of people that are believing in what we do. It's about clients that continually walk through our door every day and call this place home. And if they're walking out better because of that, they're making differences here in Rockford and in their communities as well.
Clearly, they haven't met you yet. That's that's how one that's how one. But it's great. You are you and your husband and your family and your team have created an environment that fosters and helps with the advocation of doing that, one at a time, right, on a daily.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this question, I always sometimes, preface it by, it might be more of a two-parter. Can you think of a specific point in time, could have been an event or key situation in your professional life, that really forced you to make a monumental shift in your business or career? What was the result? Positive or painful? How did going through that help you grow?
Yeah, I think I do probably have a couple. One of them obviously was, I shared at the beginning about, leaving what I thought was my dream job, what I was supposed to do, and, starting a family. And how I always say God has a funny sense of humor, because I didn't know the growth and the change that I'd be able to make and the legacy we'd be able to create after that. But I think another one, if I'm honest, wasn't that long ago. I a lot of times can just get, if I'm not careful, like bogged down in the mundane of like, I'm going to do this and this is what I have to do. Because running an operations part of a business is just daily work too, right? And so it's following up and paying bills and making sure everything's good and doing payroll. And having to make that shift and go, those are all tasks that I actually really enjoy doing. So I need to continue to do those. But had somebody speak into me and just reminding me that there's a whole bunch of people that um, have gifts too that need to be challenged. And so um, I've been trying to do that better and just reach out to, and for me, my passion is female entrepreneurs, reaching out and empowering them to make that difference and that change because, you know, my job's not been linear. Like Walt Disney World, cornfields to Walt Disney World to owning a gym, they don't sound similar. But when you shuffle down to what they are, they have been. And having the words of that mentor just speaking to me and just say, you're created to do things that you need to be doing in your path. And that doesn't mean the day to day you can just let go, but you need to be helping others be their best versions of themselves. And I've always looked at it through our four walls of our gym, and I feel like we've done that well, but I'm feeling that charge to do that outside of the four walls a little bit more.
Oh, she's got the itch.
Got the itch.
Oh my goodness,
This
this
is
is
the first
great
my husband's
stuff.
going to hear that, so that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Love it. Well, that's okay. Sometimes that's a good way to share.
Exactly.
Teresa, we're going to take a quick break to hear from this episode's sponsor. We will be right back.
Beauty is not limited to our outside appearance. It's inside us. It's our professional lives and our personal passions. It's in our health and wellness, our families, friends, and loved ones. Ask Us Beauty Magazine is content designed to educate, empower, and inspire individuals on all things beauty and wellness. We do this by bringing together people of all backgrounds to share their stories, leaving you with inspiration for living your best life. Whether it's through products, services, procedures, and personal brands, we challenge the status quo. Our mission is to change the narrative, allowing each and every one of us to define beauty on our own terms. Visit us today at askusbeautymagazine.com.
And we're back. All right, milady, we crave great resources that might help either inspire, uplift, expand our minds. And, we've been having some good laughters here, sometimes get us through the day. So do you have a favorite author, a book, resource, mentor, or anything that you'd like to share with the audience, and what makes it a favorite?
Yeah. So I'm a personal development junkie. I do love, obviously, in different seasons, to different resources that have helped us. I can fall into the tracks of a lot of business development piece, but when I scale back and shake down to that pivotal, a mentor speaking to me years ago and then reminding me of the book she gave me years ago, Brene Brown has always been an author that's just created an impact in a leadership way. Dare to Lead is one that it was a book gifted to me from a previous executive director of a non-for-profit. And that has always been a resource that I can read all of the tactical pieces of running a business all day long. But if I forget to remind myself at the core of who I am and what I was created to do, that doesn't really matter. And so Dare to Lead, Brene Brown it's definitely a favorite. I'm also a Jenna Kutcher fan. I listen to her podcast. I listen to her audiobook. I do a lot of audiobooks. I've given myself permission to listen to audiobooks because I felt like for a long time I had to sit down with pen and paper and read. And although that's great, sometimes the season of my life, I won't absorb the amount that I want to in a time. So there's times I'm in my car and I can just listen to an audiobook. So
Awesome. Okay, so I've got it. I'm watching the clock and I'm always cognizant of the time, but I have to give you a shout out too with Jenna Kutcher because she is what truly inspired me. I found her accidentally years ago to be able to launch a podcast. So how funny is that? You were the first
I love
Silhouette
that.
guest to mention Jenna, and so I think of her often. And oh my gosh, that's amazing! So we'll have to let her know.
Well, and you'll
How
probably
cool is
notice too,
that?
like what I love about Jenna is her message has drastically changed over the years because she
Uh-huh.
has, right? Now
Yes.
she's a mother and that message is so
Mhm.
different. And I think that's so healthy for women to see instead of others maybe providing feedback of, oh, well, now her message is so different. I'm like, well, of course it is. Her
Yeah,
season of life is different, much like ours does. So
that's right. We
it's
evolve and
totally the
elevate.
people in me too, because I'm always like, now I'm like, okay, I want to know more about you. This is why podcasts are hard for me because
Yeah.
I want to,
Tell me,
I
tell
want to
me.
learn about people too.
Yeah, share. Oh, I think that's how we become our best by
Yes. Yep.
sharing and listening and being available for each other. So, oh my gosh. All right, milady, the time is coming close here, and I don't want to let you go, but I know you have things to do. Um, it has been absolutely an honor and fantastic visiting with you. And as we begin to wrap up in keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, do you have a favorite piece of key go-to advice that you'd like to share?
Above all things, that when I talk to fellow entrepreneurs, moms, friends, the one thing I always want to remind them is you were created for something. And sometimes it's not as easy to put on paper. It's not a point blank, it's not a word, it's not a definition, it's not a thing, it's not a job title. But in the moments of self doubt or self sabotage or just even confusion in the season of life, I always challenge them to reflect back to that little human, that little girl, that little boy, that what were the things then that made you excited? And you can build a life off of that. It just might not look like you thought it could. And so for me, I never thought I had to give myself permission to go, people are my business, And so it's looked different over the years, but people are my business and that's where I'm gifted. And so just remembering to like scrape back some of the expectations or the self-sabotage and go, what is it that I enjoy doing, or where am I my best, and give yourself permission to lean into that.
Perfection, perfection. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, milady, the stage is completely yours here. I want to let you share with the audience where they can go and find you or connect with you or your business or all the great things you're doing with your community and the goals of getting on Forbes. I think we can do this together, helping support you. Movement fitness, whatever you want to share. Share your socials so we can continue and support you in your success. Stage is all yours.
Oh, well, thank you. If I'm honest, social media is not always my gift because I'm so relational at people. You'll see my social media is reflective of others, my family, my kids, my community, and things that we're doing. But you can find me on Instagram at Theresa Kegley. It's TheresaKegley. If I can encourage you, I'd love for you to follow our business. Yes, you're going to see people doing workouts and movements, but mindset and mental health is a huge drive of who we are. And so I'd love for you to follow us at Movement 815. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook with Movement Fitness Rockford.
Outstanding. And we will make sure and include those links in the resource section of the show notes. So it's just one click away.
Perfect.
Excellent. Theresa, thank you once again for sharing your time, your Silhouette of Success story with us. You are brilliant. You are bright. You are energetic and true inspiration for us all. So thank you.
Amber, thank you. You're such a light. Please continue to share your light with others. It's making a difference. So thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. Goosebumps. Okay, milady. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.